right, well, good morning, Central Georgia, and happy Friday. We are going to take a look at your extended forecast for the upcoming weekend. I know Alex Fry normally does this. He's actually filling in for Ben Jones tonight. We're doing a little flip-flopping around. So I'm going to take a look at your extended forecast, and we're going to start off with something that's very exciting. You can see the planets moving behind me here. Today is my favorite day of the entire year. Today is the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year and the first official day of summer. So the summer solstice actually is going to be tonight at 10:42 p.m. Again, this is the longest day of the year, which means we have 14 hours and 19 minutes of sunlight for today and for tomorrow because this takes place later tonight. So this means, again, this is the first official day of astronomical summer. And if you're not familiar with exactly what the summer solstice is, well, you'll probably remember we have the start of several seasons meteorologically and astronomically. Astronomically is what we're talking about here. You're familiar with the spring and fall equinoxes. That's when we have equal number of daylight hours and nighttime hours. Solstices are when we have longer nights or longer days. So the winter solstice is the exact opposite of the summer solstice. This is the shortest day of the year. This is around December 21st typically, and we have the shortest day of the year, and we have the longest night. So we have the least number of daytime hours. The summer is the exact opposite, the longest day of the year, the shortest night, the most number of daytime hours out of any of the days of the year. Again, this is because during this time of year, during the summer solstice, this is when the northern hemisphere is tilted most towards the sun, so it gets the most exposure to daylight hours out of any other day of the year. This is my favorite day because I love the summer and I love these long summer days that we get with the late sunsets. It really just doesn't get much better than that. So that is today. Again, this kicks off the first official day of summer, and fittingly so, because what we're going to be talking about today is a whole lot of heat that's coming our way. That is going to be the big thing with kind of the upcoming work week and the upcoming weekend ahead as well. So we talked about the summer solstice there, but let's jump into our current conditions with what we're seeing in our area right now. I have all 4 sky cams pulled up, showing something that we haven't seen for quite some time, which is clear blue skies. I feel like we've been waiting on this all June long to actually enjoy summer, and now we're ringing in the first official day of summer with these clear blue skies. You can definitely see that in downtown Dublin. In fact, I'll just get out of the way. Take a look at that. Clear as can be in Dublin, and really getting an image of how blue it is in the sky out there. A couple of high clouds in Warner Robins, so not much of a different picture, just a few more clouds in there, and a similar sight in downtown Macon, a few high clouds there, and Perry is faced towards the highway. We were having some trouble with our sky cams here, but it is a similar picture there as well. So let's talk a little bit more about what the specific pattern that we're going to be entering is. Now you'll remember, and it's kind of hard to forget because of how much it's been in your face for the past few days, we've had some pretty consistent days of storms and rain. Almost every afternoon and evening, it seems like we've had these rounds of waves of showers and storms that have just really not left us alone. We've tacked on really impressive rainfall totals, and again, it seems like most days in June have had rain as opposed to not having rain. Finally, there is a change in the pattern in the forecast. That change comes in the form of a drier pattern ahead for us here. So we're talking about dry weather today and for the rest of the weekend, and then really for the upcoming work week as well. It's not going to be a totally 0% chance of rain. There's going to be a light chance for maybe a brief sprinkle, but it's nothing like what you've seen for the past few days. Most days will be marked by truly dry weather. Now with this dry weather, there is a slight caveat, which I mentioned talking about the summer solstice, which is that we'll be ushering in the hottest temperatures that we've seen so far this year. But again, it's the summer. It was kind of only a matter of time until we started to see these. We'll talk about just how hot I'm talking here in just a second, but let's just start with the current conditions across the area here. Honestly, plenty of warm weather to go around. We're not necessarily sitting too far off from the surrounding areas. It's kind of 80s here across South Carolina, southern Georgia into southern Alabama and Mississippi. A little cooler further towards our north, places like Tennessee seeing the 70s, but generally we're teetering between the 70s and the 80s. So not too much of a temperature spread across the area right now, and definitely not too much of one in our specific area. You can see the cooler numbers here are the upper 70s, Eastman at 77, McRae at 78. Actually, Cordele looking like the coolest number right there at 67. So maybe they've had a little more cloud cover this morning that's still hanging on with them. Elsewhere, it's really upper 70s and low 80s seem to be the higher number on the board for today. Now, you know, this will certainly not be the highest number that we see this afternoon, but it's definitely not so bad. I feel like this morning was actually a bit temperate, especially because of the map that I'm showing here. So we had a cold front come through yesterday. I really want to draw your attention to the way that the wind arrows on this map are pointing. You can see they're all coming in from the northwest. For the past few days or so, all of our flow has been coming in from the southwest. So what that means is that's really filtered in a lot of Gulf moisture into our area, and it's just really brought the fuel that we've needed for that everyday chance of showers and storms. So now that our flow has switched up a little bit, first of all, it's just changing the direction that the winds are coming from, so we're not getting that stream of Gulf moisture into our area. And second, the cold front that came through yesterday actually did knock humidity down just a touch. I know it may not feel like it a lot when you head outside today, and you can still see that dark green color across the map here, so it's definitely not totally dry fall air. Don't get me wrong. You can probably still feel the humidity when you're outside, but comparably for where we've been for the earlier parts of this week, this is looking a lot better. It's definitely muggy in places like Dublin, Gordon right now where you see kind of low 70 values. It's probably a bit more comfortable places like Warner Robins, Unadilla, Butler, where they're still hanging on to the upper 60s, but we're teetering in between this kind of not bad to muggy category as opposed to being truly socked within this muggy category. So not a huge relief, but definitely a little bit of a difference from the past couple of days. And you can probably feel that in the feels like numbers as well. These numbers are being driven up a couple of degrees because of the humidity. So 85 in Dublin, 88 in Gordon. Again, when we were looking at the actual numbers, we were seeing closer to the low 80s and the upper 70s in a couple of spots. So playing a bit on the feels like numbers, and this will be something to pay attention to over the next couple of days, because remember, our pattern is switching from that everyday rain chance. That's where your guard has had to be up for the past week or really 2 weeks or so. Now we're going to start transitioning to you need to have your guard up a little bit in the way of temperature. So you need to kind of be thinking about how muggy does it feel outside? What are the feels like numbers? And what is the actual number? Because we're going to see numbers that we haven't quite seen so far this year, which just means regular things. You need to have an extra water bottle on you. You maybe need to limit your time outdoors because you just got to give your body a chance to get used to that true Georgia heat that we're going to be having over the next couple of days. So the same kind of thing echoed on the wind map here, which is what I just wanted to show you with the humidity. We have a little bit of a light breeze outside right now, but everything is still coming down from the northwest. So we still don't have that true southwesterly flow that's making things just feel stale and completely muggy outside. So the better news of our pattern starts with today. Again, we said drier weather starts to filter in today. So it's going to be a pretty dry day. In fact, I'd say most spots today are going to stay completely dry. There is a little bit of a rain chance. You'll see on the 7-day, I've put a 10% chance for today just to cover the bases for maybe a light sprinkle or a very brief shower at most. We're not talking about anything close to what we've seen for the past few days. There's no storm chance. We're really just watching for the potential for maybe a light shower that would last 2 to 3 minutes at most. The big story for today, and again for the rest of the week, is really going to be the hotter weather that we're going to have to start getting used to. The actual number today will climb into the 90s, which we've been able to kind of avoid for a few days. We've really been teetering between the upper 80s and the low 90s. Today we'll see 92. And would you believe me if I told you this is actually one of the coolest numbers on the 7-day forecast? And again, with the heat index, it'll probably be feeling a bit closer to the mid 90s. So something to pay attention to for the rest of the day today. Now, where do we stand with the satellite and radar? In fact, you have to kind of zoom out pretty far to find any sort of activity. A couple of showers and storms off the coast of the Panhandle there and off the coast of South Carolina here. But other than that, maybe a couple little rumblers over there towards Mississippi. Here in our area, it's about as quiet as it's been in quite some time. All we really have right now are just a couple of clouds out there, and again, it's really actually mostly clear. So we have a lot of high clouds. We did have some fog this morning that has since moved out. And otherwise, the satellite radar is going to be taking a much needed break, not only for the rest of the day today, but also for your weekend. And really, when I show you the long range models, it's looking encouraging for the upcoming work week as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the short range models, talking about the rest of the day today. Like I said, it's not a totally 0% chance of rain, but it's just about as close as we're going to get in the summertime season. You see these little green blips, which this is one of the only ones I can point out, not even in our area. There's just a chance for maybe a light sprinkle at the very most. Otherwise, again, I think most places will stay completely dry for the day today. Now, heading into Saturday, the good news is we're talking about the exact same thing. I bumped the rain chance up to 20 just because there's maybe a slightly better chance for a light sprinkle or two, but it's still almost the exact same forecast. I think you should stay mostly dry throughout the day on Saturday. which means for the first time in a while, it's going to be a great chance to enjoy outdoor plans. I know we still have Juneteenth events going on. It's going to be great to enjoy most of those. Again, you should stay dry if you can just bear the heat. That will be the thing that you'll have to pay attention to. So same story throughout the day on Saturday. And then once again, as we head into Sunday, we're talking about the same pattern. Again, just the chance for maybe a brief isolated shower or sprinkle. And other than that, you once again should stay mostly dry. I'm so happy to finally say this. It feels like it's been a while since we have had no rain chances. Like I mentioned, this continues as we head into the work week here. If we look at the long range models, at the very least, you can see that they're not showing anything organized heading into our area. And not as much as of that paint splatter like we typically have seen for the past few weeks, which indicates there's probably going to be some scattered shower activity. We really don't have that either. All the way through Wednesday, still looking nice and clear on the long range models here, aside from maybe a stray sprinkle. And then all the way into Thursday. Now Friday, the GFS, the one that's in green there, tries to introduce a little bit more of a rain chance. You may have just seen it skirt across the screen there. The Euro model, not totally on board. This is kind of at the end of the 7-day forecast. So we'll see if that ends up having the rain chances bump up just a touch. I can show you on this map why I think the long range models may be trying to do that. Take a look at how our flow changes as we head into kind of past the weekend and start talking about next week. We do start to get a little bit more flow coming in from the south, so that just may increase our chances for a couple more of those light sprinkles. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be anything like what we saw last week, but that may be a little bit of increased moisture, which could bump our rain chances up just a little bit by the time we're in next week. Other than that, let's just take a look at what the rainfall has been like over the past couple of days. Now, there's something I want to note here. The Macon Airport seems to kind of always have an issue with the rainfall that we tend to have in our area. It always seems like we have more rainfall than the Macon Airport's really recording. And I will note there has been a few days, notably the 5th and then also the 17th, that had issues with the rainfall recordings. So there may have been a little bit of rain that actually did fall, but then there was some sort of issue at the airport. All in all, the numbers that you see down here are actually inaccurate. It seems like we're having a bit of an issue with this graphic. We've seen over 5 inches of rain. I think the exact number is 5 inches almost on the dot. And where we should be for this time of year is just shy of 4.5 inches. So for the month of June, we've actually exceeded the average already. And again, with dry weather in the forecast, that's probably about the highest we're going to get in terms of rainfall totals, maybe for the next couple of days and potentially for the rest of the month. But certainly, we're already above where we should be for this time of year. So it'd be okay for us to enter a dry stretch is kind of what I'm getting at here. We're not really in any sort of drought. We've seen a lot of rainfall. We've actually had a couple of flash or flood warnings as well. Having some dry weather certainly wouldn't be the worst thing ever. Like I said, this is just going to come with a little bit of an increase in temperatures. So why in the world am I emphasizing the temperatures so much? We're in the month of June. We're in Georgia. We're used to seeing high temperatures, and that is true. But I want to take you back over the past couple of weeks through early June to kind of show you why I'm emphasizing why things are going to be feeling a lot warmer here. Take a look at the past couple of months here. We've honestly really been in the 80s for a whole lot of days here. You can see a couple of 90-degree days on there. The highest was Saturday, June 7th. That's when we saw a high temperature of 93 degrees. That's the highest that we've seen so far. The average for the June month is right around 90 degrees. So we've had a couple of days that have hit or been above average, but actually the majority of our days so far have been below average. We've had a lot of 80-degree days with a lot of humidity, so it's felt like the 90s, but the actual numbers have stayed relatively in the 80s to low 90s. Like I said, it's low 90s forecasted for today, but then we start talking about the rest of the week, things are going to start heating up a little bit more than that. So as we head into the weekend, even just by tomorrow, we'll start to see the mid 90s, which this could be the highest temperature that we've seen so far this month, 94 degrees, and then once again mid 90s as we head into Sunday, low to mid 90s. With the humidity, that's going to be feeling even warmer than that, probably somewhere in the upper 90s for the weekend. Heading into the work week, that's when the true heat starts to set in here. That's when we're talking about numbers that are in the mid to upper 90s. And what you can't see on this graphic here is Wednesday and potentially Thursday are even warmer than that. So I kind of threw the record high temperatures on there just to show you we're not necessarily talking about anything that's record breaking in terms of the heat. The record for Monday would be 104 degrees, which we're not forecasting anything close to that, thank goodness. And the record for Tuesday would be 101 degrees again. Not forecasting anything even over 100 degrees but certainly the warmest heat that we've seen so far this entire year. And when you factor in the heat indices, we're talking about feels like numbers that will be close to or over the triple digits. So why does this matter? Like I said, we're not really used to that just yet. We've had a lot of below average days. We've been in the upper 80s. We've been in the low 90s. We just haven't really dealt with true heat like that for not very long. So when we start to have these kind of numbers in there and you're spending a lot of time outdoors, this just may play a role on how it feels outside, and you may need to just take breaks. Get out of the sun when you can, drink a little bit of extra water, and just be aware of how the heat may be impacting your body. Also because of this, and this is the first heat we've seen this season, we'll be watching with the National Weather Service to see if they do issue any sort of heat advisory criteria over the next few days. Again, that would just be paying attention to the feels like numbers, and they may go ahead and issue one of those next week. Again, that may be the first one we see of the season. It certainly wouldn't be the last. I feel like last summer we did have a lot of heat advisory criteria in our area. So just something to note, again, paying attention to what you should be shifting your focus to. We're shifting a little bit from those occasional daily rain and storm chances now to dealing with a bit more heat in our area. The good news is, with the drier weather, this means you can actually get outside like I mentioned before. We've got a lot of Juneteenth events happening in our area, and not only that, but you may have been wishing for blue sky days like me because you're just dying to spend some extended time outside, maybe at the pool, maybe at splash pads, things like that, maybe even out on the lake. This is your weekend to take advantage of that and do it again hot. That's really the main headline here. So you want to bring some water, you want to make sure you're taking breaks, get out of the sun when you can, make sure you're getting in the pool instead of just sitting by the pool. But generally, this will be a great weekend to kind of enjoy your true summer activities. It'll be a lot drier, but there will be just a slight chance for maybe a couple of afternoon pop-up light showers or drizzles at most. Again, I'm really not talking about anything like what we saw earlier this week, but there's just a really light chance for catching one of those really brief showers, and not even really talking about storms, mostly just talking about rain. The wind will stay calm. We're really not talking about anything super gusty over the next couple of days, so we're going to be entering kind of a chill pattern. If you're curious what's happening in our atmosphere that's really changing this, again, I showed you kind of the change in flow from having that southwesterly Gulf moisture into our area. In the upper atmosphere, we're also entering a high pressure system that's just going to keep our weather generally drier over the next couple of days, as opposed to what we saw over the past week or so. So I think there's a lot to be happy about in the forecast, a lot to pay attention to as well. But let's go over the 7-day forecast a little bit more in depth here. So this is the first day of summer. Again, the summer solstice is today, and you can notice pretty quickly that 92 degrees is the coolest day on the 7-day forecast. So get used to it because the heat is coming quickly. I feel like we didn't get a ton of time to prepare for it, and it is already here. So heat starts to set in as we head into the weekend, mid-90s by the time we hit Saturday. Again, you see that 20% chance on there for the same thing that I just mentioned. Light chance for seeing maybe a brief sprinkle or a brief light shower, and that carries us through the weekend into next week. Now, the rain chances tick back down to about 10% as things stand right now, but the heat becomes the big story for the work week. So remember, I showed you 95, 97, but then we couldn't see past Tuesday. Wednesday's looking even warmer than that, with a forecasted high right now of 98 degrees. Now, I'll say some of these models were giving crazy numbers. In fact, I think the highest one that I saw was 103. I believe that was by the European model. So there were some models that were throwing out crazy higher numbers than that. I've tended to go on the conservative side of things and pick a number that I thought was maybe more realistic for us, and especially the time of year that we're in right now. I'm forecasting upper 90s, but I do want you to pay attention to especially Wednesday, because we could see Tuesday or Wednesday maybe take a tick up or maybe take a tick down, depending on how the models do over the next couple of days, and also just depending on what our actual numbers are over the next couple of days. We'll see how much this heat really sets in our area, and if we're talking about numbers that could get higher than this or potentially could actually just get a little bit lower than that. That's what I'm really hoping for. I don't think I'm quite ready to put 90 on the board just yet. I think that's more of a July, August number for me. Again, mid-90s as we head into the second half of the week here. So it's really just Tuesday and Wednesday right now that look like they could get to that pretty high number, maybe near 100. But again, hopefully staying away from that. In fact, in my personal opinion, I don't think we have what we need to necessarily meet 100 degrees just yet for the time of year that we're in. I don't think it will be long before we see one of those days, but I think Wednesday and Thursday should hopefully just stay in the upper 90s as opposed to the triple digits. But That's just kind of look at where things stand over the next week or so. The big takeaway is really just going to be the drier but really hot weather, and you're used to that. It's just another summer in Georgia. We transitioned from those daily rain chances to now really just talking about the heat that's going to be in our area. The things that I'll be watching for on my end, we'll be paying attention to see if we do meet any heat advisory criteria over the next couple of days or so. And then again, if you're curious what the heat indices are like, what the humidity is playing on temperatures, what the actual temperatures are, again, you're already in the right spot. 13 WMAZ Plus has got a really great tool, which you're watching right now. When you see that L bar on the screen, tells you current conditions, tells you current numbers, and then there's also kind of a loop that plays through. It gives you the current satellite and radar, and then it also just gives you current numbers across the area, like the maps that we use every day on TV. So it's going to tell you the current numbers, it'll tell you the current humidity values, and it'll also tell you the feels like numbers as well. So if you're curious just to do a general check before you end up heading outside during the daytime, that's a great resource to do so. Again, that's our 13 WMAZ Plus app, the one you can download on your TVs, and that's how you can access our 24/7 radar stream with also all the current conditions for information that will definitely be helpful when we have a whole lot of heat in our area. So hopefully this weekend is a good chance to get outside. I know that's what I'm going to be doing as we head into the weekend, spending some time outdoors with this finally dry weather that we definitely deserve, but definitely making sure you're hydrating and taking some breaks because we are going to be dealing with the June heat. But that's all we have for you for this week. I'm meteorologist Ansley Parker, and thanks for taking an extended look at your forecast with me. Have a great day.